As US and French astronauts make spacewalks to install new solar panels for the International Space Station, or ISS, Chinese astronauts are also gearing up in the space race. China aims at becoming a space power in all aspects, from conducting cutting-edge scientific research to providing strong support for the realization of the Chinese dream. China's Tiangong is the most advanced space station ever deployed by mankind. Yet, it is not really something that people in Western countries really understand or even know about the Chinese who reinvented the space station for the 21st century. How did they win this race? Let's find out in today's video of Top Wonders. We've been putting space stations into orbit since the early 1970s, but Tiangong is the first to stand out as something that looks more like science fiction than reality. It is basically like a submarine in space. Did you know that the first space station ever deployed was a single Soviet-designed module from 1971 called Salyut, and then 2 years later in 1973, NASA came out on top with their own station called Skylab. However, it was not until 1986 that the world witnessed the deployment of the first Soviet modular space station called Mir. It will take a decade to assemble the 7-modular Mir station, and even if the Soviet Union collapses in the middle of the project, the Russians will establish themselves as leaders in the development of the space station, because the Russians have decades of experience with many space stations, and NASA has almost no practical experience and knowledge. Let's look at the ISS. It's like a Mir 2.0 because it's pretty clear we know where the design approach came from. If we compare the Salyut and Skylab to the ISS, then we do not really see a huge amount of progress or development towards the design. However, Skylab really stands out as the most beautiful space station in the bunch. 50 years ago, Soviet design aesthetics were applied to the ISS, which had more in common than Starship Enterprise. Now let's talk about the Tiangong of China. Tiangong and the ISS have a gap of 20 years, but it doesn't seem to be a century's progress. Tiangong now consists of 3 modules that form a T-shaped space station, 55 meters long and 39 meters wide, orbiting about 400 kilometers from the Earth's surface. The first module, Mengtian, launched on October 31st, is one of 2 modules designed to accommodate and host scientific experiments. The other module, Wentian, has been launched since July. Up to now, both Mengtian and Wentian have attached to the Tianhe core module, like 2 arms on either side. Tianhe has been orbiting Earth since April 2021. This is actually the 3rd phase of the plan that China began in the 1990s, called Project 921. Which resembles China's plan to conquer space in Phase 1 of the plan, the development and launch of a rocket and spacecraft capable of controlling the crew. The first stage, 921-1, was to launch an unmanned spacecraft before October 1999, to mark a major milestone on the occasion of the 50th anniversary of the Independence Day. The first design for the October ship was completed in 1992, based on the Russian version of the Soyuz. In 2003, the system made China's first manned flight into Earth orbit, the beginning of the 2nd phase of the plan. The Chinese made their first spacewalk, using their own spacesuit. Then the nation began deploying test modules resembling miniature space stations. Chinese crews made their first extended stay in space and practiced docking maneuvers between test modules and Shino. This time also marked the development of China's Shenzhou spacecraft, a cargo vehicle with a carrying capacity of 6,500 kilograms. This spacecraft is designed to fly on the new Long March 7 rocket, a modern replacement for the 2F rocket launched for the first time. Phase 3 of the 2016 plan was the time when we were developing and assembling a new space station, Tiangong, or Heavenly Palace. So why is China so determined to create a space station of its own? Because it's really awesome. Everyone will want to take a walk in space. However, the Chinese are banned from the International Space Station. In 2011, the U.S. decided that China was prohibited from visiting the station, a Chinese ban made specifically through the Department of Defense Act passed by the U.S. Congress, which stipulates that NASA may not use its funding to collaborate in any way with China. The reasons given focused on human rights and national security issues, but more than anything, the U.S. is concerned that China will steal ideas, spy on or do something similar. It's a reasonable concern because both the U.S. and China have been deeply involved in tons of shady espionage content throughout more than a century. This has created a lot of paranoia. Of course, in response, China decided to deal with them by building its own. Your first impression will be the interior of Tiangong. Very spacious, especially compared to the ISS. It has a very minimalist modern design. Interestingly, the outer diameter of the modules closely resembles ISS modules by about 4.2 meters, or 14 feet across. So the difference is in the volume of internal space available. There are several reasons for that because an ISS module is usually much shorter with more connection points. On the ISS, the astronauts' main operating base is 8.4 meters long, while the Wan and Menan modules are both 18 meters long. In contrast, the technology on Tiangong is much more modern and therefore smaller. Unlike the ISS, its system will connect wirelessly instead of having to install a maze of cables. The ISS also has a lot of technology on Tiangong, hidden behind these plain whiteboards when not in use. I don't know if that is more useful or just aesthetically pleasing, or they really do not want anyone else to be able to see what they're doing. History brings us to the picture of conflict of states. This is the end of the 20th and the beginning of the 21st century, the period of modern warfare, where the strategy is not only the command of units on the battlefield, resource management, alliances, and advanced technologies. This is the place where conflicts between nations take place, where you take control of a country and participate in a world war scenario. It all revolves around strategic planning and making tactical decisions about diverse units, from nuclear ballistic submarines to fighter jets. Cooperation with modern war alliances plays a pivotal role in the game, allowing you to form cooperative guilds and team up for the ability to reach the objectives. Whether you are using a PC or a mobile device, you can seamlessly engage in this game with the Clash of Nations account as you immerse yourself in strategy, engage in epic battles, and work towards world domination. Guess that's for all your strategy enthusiasts. The first module of Tiangong successfully reached orbit in April 2021. This core structure is called Tanho, which means Harmony of Heaven. Tanho is a 20-ton structure with a maximum diameter of 4.2 meters and contains everything needed for a space station, which can support a crew of 3. It has a solar panel propulsion system that supports life, a robotic arm, a complex docking node, and an airlock that has 3 main sections for the core module, starting from the smaller end, which has a spherical multi-dimensional active node. This node has 4 ports, of which one is clearly permanently attached to the opposite port. With the core module as the main gateway for the station, it is possible to attach 2 ports above the node that is performing multi-D as the spawn ports for laboratories. The bottom gate is the gateway of the second team. This gate is used during team transfers when there are 2 groups of 3 Tiona simultaneously occupying the terminal and the top port. It is actually not a harbor, but a tunnel for crews to leave the station and make spacewalks. This is the crew's area with its own bunk beds and all necessary facilities like space toilets for 3 members. At the wider end of the central module is a working area with 3 experimental racks. It's also the place of the station's thruster, which maintains orbital control. Finally, there is another docking port at the end of the module dedicated to cargo ships. It's a future docking port for the China Space Telescope. China's robotic arm support module has similar capabilities and a bit more expansion. On July 24, 2022, China launched their WCN Research Lab module for Tiangong. which is another 20-ton structure that has been deployed on the Long March 5B rocket, which is China's first heavy space launch pad and is responsible for putting all 3 modules of Tiangong into a 400-kilometer-high orbit. This is another research lab module coming to Tiangong. In October 2022, Mangan would be very similar to Wan, with the biggest difference being that Mangan does not have any sleeping space, so it has more space for laboratory stands. Mangan is also equipped with its own airlock that will act as a secondary cargo. The Mangan port also has a huge array of solar panels, so the addition of a 3rd module that fully powered the station and upgraded it to full functionality. And then there's the China Space Telescope. All we know is that it's currently under development and will likely have similar capabilities like the Hubble telescope. It's designed to operate independently of Shenzhou. It will orbit nearby, but it is not attached to the station. The telescope will have the ability to attach to Tiangong so that it can be easily maintained and upgraded over time. This is something that cannot be easily done, so it's a big advantage. In addition to the fact that we already learned that China is considering another expansion to Tiangong, at a recent meeting of the International Astronautical Congress, Chinese officials have revealed plans to expand the station from 3 nodules to 6. China plans to launch a new multifunctional expansion module. In the coming years, it believes that the added full-size modules will start participating in that station in about 4 years. Currently, there will be a limited number of international research projects coming to Tiangong. With the collaboration between the U.S. Office of Outer Space Affairs and the European Space Agency, it is a great start, but on a relatively small scale. Tiangong will likely not see international crew members visiting it, although future expansion may change this. There will be no cooperation between Tiangong and the ISS. China is not a partner in the ISS, and its astronauts cannot access the ISS. U.S. regulations also prohibit NASA, an agency participating in the ISS, from establishing bilateral partnerships with China. However, with Tiangong, researchers can repeat experiments conducted on the ISS to verify the results. Our video here is over. Please click the like button if you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to share your impressions of today's video under the comments section. And please subscribe to the channel so that you will not miss interesting videos. So for now, goodbye, and see you again in the latest Top Wonders videos.